Okay, set of minutes to approve from the previous meeting on September 21st.
I didn't find anything.
Additions or corrections or motion?
Motion to approve. I'll second. John? Yes. Mike? Yes.
Yes. Okay, election season is upon us, and you've seen some say yes to Mets, I believe is the phrase that's out there. Superintendent of the Geauga County Board of Developmental, easy for me to say, Disabilities and the Vetsbaum Center is Don Rice, and he's here tonight to fill us in on what's going on there.
Well, thank you. We're out doing some education as we do frequently, but definitely during levy time to let people know what we do. Most people know us as the Vetsbaum Center. Officially, we're the Geauga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and we're the agency, the county government agency tasked to helping people with developmental disabilities of all ages. We start at our youngest age is when a child is born with a deep birth defect, or if they're less than one and not meeting their milestones, walking, crawling, talking, those type of things. We bring in specialists, therapists, to help work with the families in their homes and help them try to understand their child and how best to help that child meet those milestones and develop normally. As the child reaches age 3, we start to work with the school districts in preschool, and we have a preschool located at our building, a couple of classes at our building, but for the most part, it's back into the public schools, into the situation where a child is integrated in the public schools. We become a support to the families during that time, but also a funding source. Every year we help the schools with about $2.3 million worth of funding that we actually give the public schools to help kids who are in the public schools to participate in a regular classroom, in a regular setting as much as possible. That meets the state and the federal guidelines of what we're supposed to be doing. As they turn 16, we start to see a process. We start a transition period. We start to look and say, all right, is this student going to become a working individual and find a job? Can we help them find those jobs? That's the priority. We have about 80 people working out in the county, working for different places. If you go to some of the Giant Eagles, you'll see some of our folks working there. They're a big one that I use because they are a very good partner to us, helping us do a lot of things, particularly if you go to Chesterland. We actually can use one's name. So you see them up there. They're working their places. That's our goal, is to have people working in the community, becoming a working part of the community, much like you or I would. That's okay. No problem. As we look at the adult services, we provide services for the individual depending on what their needs are. Everything from just simply helping them get transportation to get to work, to the point where they might have day programs where they have a whole need of services, a whole realm of services, to the point where even residential. We end up with about 175 people right now who we're providing 24/7 care for in a residential setting. It's a growing process. As people age and they can no longer provide for their children, and their children are needing services, we go ahead and we step in and we provide those services where they're needed. So we serve people of all ages, and I'm not sure. I didn't see the Rubiks here. Is there a Rubik representative here? I was going to have family members here share their story. Since they're not, I'm going to shorten it up. We are on the ballot. It is election time. This is the first time we've had the need to ask for new money since 2004. In those 11 years, we've seen an increase of more than 40%, the number of people we're serving. During that 11 years, we've seen a 30% increase in the inflationary figures. So inflation catches everybody. Levy dollars are flat. What they pass, they stay flat. They don't increase with your property values unless you come back and ask for more. We're asking for more. It's a $1 mil levy, $35 a year per $100,000 of house evaluation. So it's about $3 a month for a $100,000 house. You can work out the deal. If you've got a $200,000 house, double it. But work your way through that. We're here. We don't ask because we want to. We're here because we can't go any longer. We're using our savings. We've been living off our savings since 2012. So we've been using up our carryover each year, trying to stretch it as long as we can. And that's why we're here, to share. Does anybody have any questions?
How much will the 3 mil levy generate?
A 1 mil? A 1 mil levy generates for the county about $2.9 million. It's a little over $3 million, but then there's pieces that come off, so the yield is actually around 2.9. Last year, our expenses exceeded our revenue by about 2.5 million.
What's your annual budget?
We're expending somewhere near right around $19 million.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do your census numbers remain relatively stable? Is there a lot of variability from year to year?
It can change from year to year, particularly as we have in the child areas where things change the most frequently. Once a child's become an adult and they're needing our services, it's pretty well static. Until they pass away, that's something where we're usually involved for the rest of their life. But in the child area, we can have as many as 200 to 300 kids at a time that we're working with, that if they reach their milestones and they become developmentally normal, typical, then we drop off. So that number can flex pretty heavily. And our goal is that it's not a lifetime issue. If they have a speech problem or a hearing problem, we can address that as a child. They can develop fairly normally throughout the rest of their lives then and live a normal life. And then we don't have to stay involved. Our goal is not to be involved through their whole life, but we can help them at a young age. So that's where the variability comes in.
Do you have any statistics or any information that sort of shows that trend to your department?
Yeah, on that handout that I gave out earlier, if you take a look at those, you can see where it is from 2004 to 2014, 2003 to 2014. If you want the specifics, please give me a call. My number's on there. Just call the main office, and I will gather all that information for you. We do have it. I don't have it here to hand out because most people don't want to see 11 years worth of figures, but I'll get them to you.
All right, appreciate it.
Sure. Any other questions?
Yeah. Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I'll stay.
Okay, this being the first meeting of the month, we schedule reports from, first order and start with Mr. Frank Kitko, the zoning inspector.
Okay, activity for the month of September, we issued 9 permits across the board. 1 new single-family dwelling, had 3 new accessory buildings, a couple residential build-outs or completions of interior work, and 3 decks. We did have 1 denial, that denial will equate to a variance request being heard tomorrow night. And that's about it.
Is this a single-family dwelling over here on the corner of Bailey Main, Auburn? On the northwest corner.
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Kitko regarding zoning? Anyone at all? Thank you, Frank. Emmerich Gordon is our Township Highway Superintendent. He's going to give us a report tonight.
Okay, Auburn Township report for September 2015. Asphalt patching at Township roads continued into September with 328 tons of material used. We are continuing to date, and I believe this will go on for another week or so, about a week and a half. That should be caught up. The need for bleed-through control, and you're familiar with that, Stafford PJ.
Yeah.
Our chip seal roads did wind down as the temperatures did moderate, and this was after we had the sun come out. It was a pretty good year for that, over your section especially. And rest assured, you could tell Mike over there that section is due for chip next year, so that should see. Erosion of burn material is taken care of on Stafford and Calamity roads. I still have a couple areas that I need to take care of due to the extensive rainfall that we had in June and July, and we'll get that before the end of the month. There was one call out for a down tree on Wing Road. And the re-chip sealing of Frank's Road to correct the initial installation was done. I don't know if you got okay to pay on that or not, if that came down from that. I know there's a question about quantities. But that's done. We did inspect it, and it's up to snuff. We did have one urn burial and one full interment for the month, and we did have 3 outstanding footers. I did contact Susan, as I spoke with you. We're going to do some more policing on the planting of shrubbery, making sure that someone's in contact with the people that own the plots. We're going to go back, contact who did the most recent, and see what we can do to take those out. Once again, it's about adherence to our regulation and policy as far as the cemeteries go. That's what I got.
She's got that in the cemetery regulations on the sign, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But a few new bushes popped up over the course of the summer.
Well, they do, yeah. Okay, any questions for Emmerich Gordon regarding roads or township properties, or I guess?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking for.
I'm just looking for an update on Stafford Road. When do you think it'll be open to the public?
It's actually open for public travel right now.
The signs are still up.
The signs are there, but they're moved to the side. You're able to traverse up and down. There's a couple of landscaping issues that they have done. The pavement, the paving, the berm is in, and the striping will show up next.
Okay, what do you think the time frame is?
The time frame, I had a discussion with the engineer today. Hopefully we're going to get this within the next week or two, that they should be finishing that up. But as far as bus routes and everything, everybody's able to go up and down.
See, my neighbors, we're on Robert Lane.
Mm-hmm.
We all abide by the sign, whether it's pushed to the right or in the road.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately the township, we don't own those signs. Those are owned by the county or the contractor. So
okay.
I believe the contractor owns those. But as far as being open for travel, it is.
I'll let my neighbors know.
Okay.
Thank you. That's going to be striped too, yeah, doesn't it?
Yes.
Striped that.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you, Emmerich. We'll move into some trustee reports. We'll start with John Everly.
Really don't have anything to add to Emmerich's. One thing I did mention, we got some paving done in the parking lot up there at Adam Hall. So that was another thing. We have put down a fair amount of asphalt here this year. So we're within the budget what we left, but probably a record year.
Besides the one call from an expected source, have we heard any other comments about the pavement on the Park Road?
No.
I haven't either.
No.
Okay.
No, just the initial call. As far as I know, I did visit it on several occasions. It seems that Casey's doing their bit as far as slowing the traffic down. I haven't seen the speeding as it was. So
that's kind of what I expected, because, as I explained to the lady, that this was an attempt to keep the dust down and to keep the sound down, and try to be good neighbors. And I don't think speed bumps, once you get 200 cars and 800 different thumps going over each speed bump, would be very popular either. But, okay, Mike?
I don't have anything. Been contacted, no complaints. Concede my time so we can concentrate on our negotiation with Jim Dixon.
The one thing I had, Fred, go ahead, I'll finish up here.
Got your usual reports in front of you, revenue report, fund status report, and appropriation status report. Also we have a payment listing in front of you, listing, can't find mine now. So we have a passing right there. Listing warrants for your signature numbers 2614 through 2640, totaling $80,664.60. And that is all I have to say.
Okay. I had just a couple things tonight. One is we had the lady come in, what her name was, Hucker, with the geocaching explanation because they want to use our park and possibly Adam Hall, the park and maybe Adam Hall for geocache locations. We did get the Geauga County permit form, and this was all. We found this to be mostly acceptable here, but the permit, rather than have them renew a permit, and we asked for annual notification of the status, and we, of course, we X'd out the town. And Nancy, apparently, we didn't get this printed up tonight. I was up here late this afternoon. But we're asking for annual notification and maintenance of the site. And other than that,
Yeah, seems reasonable to what they're doing. She seemed like she was pretty
I think these are. I don't think this
conscientious.
Doesn't seem like a bunch of troublemakers. I have geocachers. I don't think so.
They're not.
No, I don't think so.
The motion to accept that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I'll second that.
John?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. PJ?
Yes. And the other thing, Emmerich and I were talking after the pavement up there at Adam Hall, and we grubbed out 8-9 trees that were dead between it was in the tree line between Adam Hall and Patty Enos' house. And looking around up there, I think we should take some more out. I think we should open more of that up between the hall and the Don May courts over there. Kind of lends itself to maybe some scout interest, for development of Eagle projects and things like that. It's a nice area. It's I think it would incorporate it more into Adam Hall.
Yeah.
So you and I want to meet up there, and we'll tape off some stuff and
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
decide whether we want to grub it out or hire somebody to grub it out. Or
We'll look at it. I mean, we'll take a look at it and see when I can fit this in. I don't know if I could get it before weather changes here.
That's what I mean.
If not, it would be on next spring. When we do the cemeteries, we'll concentrate there as well.
2 big rows of kind of mature pine trees. I don't know if they're all alive or what shape they're in. Be nice to keep the good ones, if there are any. But beyond that, I think that should be all opened up there. People would know it's part of the parcel,
We did have the older picnic tables up there, but those went into disrepair and we got rid of them. So if that's what you'd like to do, I can see what you're talking about with a couple grills or.
People they hang out on that side of the building. I don't know if it's the shade or what it is. It folds in nice with the building, and we should just make it more obvious that that's part of it, I think. So, all right, that's all. I'll meet you up there. We'll talk about that. Okay. The last meeting, we made a motion. It was unanimous to enter into a negotiation with Jim Dixon from the J. Dixon Company. He's a construction manager, one we've worked with in the past. He's done some outstanding work here. And as we move into, we have a board consensus that we are going to attempt to improve the facilities at the road department, most likely with a new structure. And as we move into this, we thought Jim would make a good owner's representative, construction manager. So what we need to talk about, Jim, is what type of fee we're looking at. Yeah.
I'm good here too. Where would you like me to sit? I can sit here.
Chair.
Chair. You can have mine. Come on over.
That's all right.
It's very generous of you, Chief. I know
Thank you, Chief.
kind of attached to that chair.
Right here.
We have a preliminary building sketch. I can't say that this is the one we're going to build to by any stretch, but approximately 18,000 square foot is the size of that building. Whether it's built to that size or not at this point, that's subject to discussion yet. We're looking at location there on a property that's 7-point-some acres, and we're looking whether or not we need to demo the current structure and build in the same location, or possibly relocate the building to a different spot and eventually demo and then the road to a different spot. We feel the access to 2 streets with the fire department right there on the same road is pretty important.
Yeah, it is.
Want to maintain that.
Salt Dome remain.
Salt Dome looking to remain where it is, so that's how that loads out and where the trucks park and where they come in and out, ingress, egress, where it fits in with that is important, something to discuss. Whether or not to do this in 2 phases, I do believe when it's completed, it would be at that pretty close to that 18,000 square foot. But if that's necessary right now, I don't know. We want to make sure that our plans include that, whether or not the structure is built to that size at this point or not. The budget on that building at completion would be, this is a wild thing, it's not wild, but it's an estimate certainly, was I believe 1.8 to 2.1 million, and Jim has worked on a building recently about that same construction, about that same size, and about that same number. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did finish the classroom building for Auburn Community Center. It was 15,000 square feet, and it came in under $100 a square foot. They were shocked, surprised. But, I did a lot of research on it. They were looking at another building that was available, but it needed 50% of a value of a new building just in improvements and to make it usable. And instead of doing that, we decided with a lot of research to just put up a new building and give them 40 brand new years of use, and that's what we did, and it worked out real well.
And consensus so far is that our building is at its useful life.
This building here, absolutely. You're pushing the bubble right now. If a good hurricane comes through here, that building's gone. So, I mean, it's not.
Well, it's full. It's
yeah,
full.
It's capacity,
yeah,
for sure. In fact, it's over capacity. I'm sure there are vehicles that are parked outside
been added on
because you can't get them in.
Been added on to several times to do
what
another
was the last
one.
typhoon we had up with do?
Well, I don't know about that, but
so I think your budget is well within reason on that size of the building. I would tend to fall in the lesser of the 2 numbers.
I'm certainly open for that.
Yeah,
I'm certainly open.
I think that's what we'd really like to shoot for. Is
With the right design and the right type of structure and the right builder, I think it can be done.
Well, once we come to an agreement here, Jim, and we get you on board, and I can't tell you how. I can tell you how helpful it was to have an experienced set of eyes and hands and guys that have worked with putting 2 buildings together like we did at that fire station. Jim was invaluable. Well, we were working with the financing mechanism, like to inject itself into the construction site.
USDA threw some.
Yes, they did.
They opened up a can of worms. That's for
on
sure.
occasion
That's what they do.
That's what they do. They're on that's
what
job
they
security.
justify their
I think
existence.
that's job security is what it's called.
That's why this book right here is 540 pages long. That's the front ends that I wrote for the specs.
We don't think we're entering into
just to cover
into that.
CYA.
but Dixon and his company was they had every possible angle covered on that project, and I couldn't imagine going into a construction project without somebody of Jim's caliber involved. So I don't know. We're at you and I discussed some numbers on the fire station. This
the fire
isn't quite
station was
similar,
a little
but
over $2 million, and the fee was $115,000. And on this particular project, I don't feel that that's where it should be. because this is the repeat
Repeat
effort right
business.
here with
Yeah.
the new building, in this township. It's a good relationship. It's an excellent relationship, and I feel that because of the familiarity that I have with you guys and the township and Geauga County building and code, zoning codes, and all of that.
Does taking the FDA out of the picture help a little bit too?
That helps a great deal
USDA.
for me, because
USDA.
remember when we started the fire station, they held the job up for 3 months for no apparent reason other than paperwork, and that was the best 3 months. Starting, the first 3 months in the spring of that year to start this project, we lost all 3 months.
We had
And then we got
terrible
into rain,
problems, yeah.
and we had to redesign the interior to get a roof on it to get it dried up inside because the interior walls were not load bearing, and we changed that, and we traded with the contractor. So we did a lot of things over and above on that project, but it all worked out. It was a good job. And this one, I don't think we're going to get into any of that. This is going to be a type of building that supports itself, because it's the design I saw was a metal building framework that you can do whatever you want to inside and out, depending on budget. But we should be able to not have those issues. I know we won't have those issues on this building like we did on the fire station. So my starting number, I think, is somewhere around $100,000. And it's based on time. It's not based on the value of the job. It's based on, this is going to take a year to do this job. For me, not for the project, but for me to get involved in it right up front, which is what I should do. And we get into the design stage and start kicking ideas around on budget and size of building. So my time starts now. And that's where I'm at. I think, for me to knock $15,000 off of the last fee, to me, that's my starting point.
We, Fred's done a lot of work on funds available now and funds we could access. And I honestly think at $100,000, Jim's probably pretty close to a 10% number there. Not at 10%, but
10% of what?
a construction manager kind of isn't a standard thing generally.
It's in the 8 to 10%
yeah.
range, and if I was doing 10%, it would be $180,000. DJ, if it's $1.8 million, 10% of that is
Okay, like I said, we're working on budget numbers here.
Yeah,
what's available now?
I'm almost half of that.
Okay, we're working on what's available now here
Right.
too. So, the funding is, as we've discussed repeatedly up here, whether this has to go to a levy or a loan or some combination of both, or a transfer of inside millage. That's what's being kicked around pretty hard right now. So, I guess what I'm getting at is where I think we're going to have available. They're very reasonable. You're well within that 8 to 10%, as you said, well within.
Well, it's about 6, 5.5. And I know the going rate between other firms, that are larger and carry more weight and more expense, and I'm nowhere near that.
One of the things we're going to do a little different this time from the last time, I think we have Jim in here a little earlier.
Yeah.
Then the fire station,
And,
absolutely. Yeah.
Jim is going to be the board on this project. Obviously, he's going to represent us, but he's going to be that technical guy on the board. And we do have a couple of interesting issues that we do have to resolve right away. One is location. And I think Jim will be able to help study this and help us select a location that's going to be the most advantageous to us, not only during construction, but for the years to go. And I think that's always in the back of our minds, is what's this like for 20 years, 25 years, where is it out? I think what you're asking for is more than reasonable myself, Jim. based on what I know, I was just wondering, is there any possible we could just squeeze you a little more? Is that all you could squeeze?
Well, I just want to say up front that this is based on me being on the job every day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care what day it is, if it's holidays, if it's weekends, if there's somebody working on the job and doing something, I want to be there to see that it's done right. So, that being said, 95?
Oh, I think at 95 it's well worth our money.
That's
Yeah,
5%.
you know, we're going to have you, as we make the architect decision as well, which we haven't done, like John just said. We brought John.
And that's important.
It is. It's very important.
Because we all got to get along. And for you to bring in an architect that doesn't like me or I don't like him, we got problems.
So we're looking for more stuff from you on this job, but the trade-off would be this won't be the combination of an old building and a new building, and as
Right.
you and I both know, that
all new
can be a
construction.
problem.
Well, yeah, we have the old one to contend with, but
We just
only
got
to the point
just
of
to contend with, yeah.
calling Chief Phillips over here to come burn it down or something.
Hey, I have a lot of memories there.
Ah, sorry, I'm ready.
Sit
We'll,
right here,
we'll
Jim.
save you a board.
Sit right here, Jim.
We'll put a
One
plaque
block,
up there.
one
We'll
cinder
put a plaque
block.
up there.
That's funny.
That's where the Emmerich Gordon statue's going to go.
Yeah,
So.
I can't wait to see that.
Get a bigger yard, remember, we could just move it to your place.
They don't write things.
You hell of a chicken coop.
It sure would.
I would say the intention to go on with the architectural stuff would be around the corner. Maybe not the next meeting, because we'll have to make sure he can come in too. But early in November, one of the meetings in November, so we'll certainly be working with
I'm going to make a
you.
motion that we entertain the 95.
I'll second.
And that would be lump sum.
Was that payable?
I can take a check right now if you want.
I think probably you
can take cash.
What do you think?
As long as it's not mine.
Jim, isn't that how you handled the fire station? We'd do some progress payments.
Oh, yeah, there would be monthly
Okay.
installments, and I have an AIA contract that we
Right.
use on the fire side, another one that I'll fill out and send in that you guys can review, and
Let's put that in there with our
And
motion
sign
here,
it.
that this will be per AIA contract.
Right.
Okay.
So 95,000 for AIA contract, monthly installments.
Well, that's however that.
yeah.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. PJ?
Yes. Thank you, Jim. Welcome aboard again.
Thank you.
Okay, we got some new business tonight as well. This is always one of the most important decisions this board ever makes. When's trick or treat going to be?
Well, I'm glad you didn't ask me that.
Trusting you not in favor of my July date. It's always more light. It's always less inclement weather.
I'd say the first 70-degree dry day after October 25th.
Costumes are on sale then, so.
I'm going to vote for the 31st of October.
October? Okay, October. Yeah, that sounds
That's
good.
my motion.
I'll second that.
8 p.m.
When did we have that last time?
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
When did we have that last year?
We tried. I think we did, yeah.
We move it around a lot.
We have it on different days, though. Days of the week.
Okay.
Keep them guessing.
John?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. PJ?
Yes. And let's see, we have engineer letter here on the Roniak project, the Stafford Road project.
Oh, yes.
Fred's got it.
Okay, it's from Joe Catel's office. Dear trustees, enclosed please find the documents related to the payment of the second invoice for the Stafford Road reconstruction. Recommend payment of the invoice in the amount of $640,457.69 to Roniak Paving. And we recommend the board submit $319,629.08 to OPWC for payment, and the remaining $320,828.61 with local funds. Okay, and we're going to authorize John Everly, trustee, and Fred May, fiscal officer, to sign the Appendix E document. For that, the office and OPWC, and a local check for local match verification to OPWC. That's the letter, and I'd like to immediately switch that into a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Just want to do a little commentary on that. This is the largest road project we've ever done, and required a lot of planning and a lot of personal attention that Mr. Gordon gave to every resident, meeting with some of them 6 and 7 and 10 times. So Emmerich, thank you for doing that. I think the project, if you go up and drive it, stands for itself. It's a nice job, and it's going to make it's already made a huge improvement as far as visibility, width of the road down at Munn Road. It's from a safety standpoint. Hopefully, the trucks now are going to come down Munn and find it's a lot easier to access the business. IMS, and but it was a real good project. And without the issue 2 funds, we could never accomplish this project. But it really went out well. So thank you, Emma.
Good job, Emmerich.
Question: we got obviously we got to reset a speed limit on that road. That'll be after it's done. Obviously, you don't.
It's the same as they always do. They do the speed study, and what usually happens, we usually don't telegraph it out there, but the speed limit stop signs will be removed. They'll do an 85 percentile of the traveling public down there, and then they'll come back and repost and give us.
Does the county want us to request this, or is this
this will be
part of it?
It'll be part of the project.
Now, once we remove our signs with the interim speed limit,
they've been removed by the contractor. We'll get those, and then we'll replace them with appropriate speed limit. But I'm going to tell you it's going to be 45. It's not going to be open. As far as right now, we only have one open road, township road. That would be Shaw.
Which sets it at 55.
Yes, sir.
Because they gave us a recommendation to set it at 50.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we'll go through one season, that they call it season, and then they'll do the speed study.
Question on the project. Was there any discussion about adding one of those, I don't know what it's called, but like a mirror type thing where you can see cars coming up?
No, the township doesn't install any mirrors. There's a lot of liability attached to it, such as if it's icy, if it's broken, shattered. The county doesn't have a single mirror as well. And no pun intended, but we mirror the county's policies. So that's what we adopt. We don't want to be looking after mirrors. We got a lot of requests for them. As far as residents, they can make a written request to the township, which we would join with the county and see if we would allow it outside of the right-of-way or just within the right-of-way. But the maintenance issue, the onus would fall on the resident themselves to maintain that mirror.
There's nothing out there that's like not glass or that you can't be protected from being shattered or broken.
It's a case of where if there was snow on it, if there's ice on it, you can't see, and then also gives people a false sense of security that that mirror's up there. What we can do, if you want to, you can engage the county into discussion as well. And
who makes the decision, the county or?
It would be the township, but we go on their advice.
Okay, probably engage with them.
Yeah.
One of the things the county is really cautioned us on is that a lot of times we get requests for signage and whatnot. The studies show that more signage is worse than less signage, and that the more signage there is, the more likely people are to ignore it. And the other issue is that we're not engineers. So we have professional engineers at the county that are our engineers. So we'll go into those issues like that. We go to the professional engineers and seek their advice. So that's how we would handle that.
I know I won't turn left. Going down Wing Road, I won't turn left on Stafford without turning off the music and rolling down the window. Because that's really the only way I can tell whether someone's
coming. You have to, it's up to the public to drive.
Yeah, people come flying up over that hill. So, are the sight lines improved?
They should be improved, yeah.
I mean, maybe that will.
Yeah, that was part of the project.
It's greatly improved. We cut down over 300 trees.
Okay. Well, I've been abiding by the signs, so I haven't gone down there yet to see.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that very much.
So, all right, I'll check that out. Maybe it's been taken care of.
That was widened, moved back slopes back. There's a curve in there now.
Which curve now?
Because of that giant back slope, I'm sure. It's that intersection.
Improved all the drainage. Should be quite a vast. It isn't. It shouldn't be. It is a vast difference.
Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any public comment from anyone tonight? Feel free.
I have 3 questions actually. But
That's zero.
See if others have questions. If no one else has questions, I will give you my 3.
Go ahead.
First of all, my name is Shelley Lewis. I don't know if Emmerich remembers me, but about a year ago, I was in touch with Emmerich, and I just wanted to say publicly what a huge help he was. Most of the meetings I attend are with the Kenston School District, so my dealings with someone like Emmerich is just night and day, where the emphasis is on you are the taxpayer, we're here to serve you. He probably said that about 15 times in the one conversation we had. So I just wanted to, publicly acknowledge that and let you know just how much that's appreciated. I do want to revisit a question that I brought up to Emmerich last year, and also I think that Mr. Eberly responded to. And that was with Kenston's use of group stop bus service. And it just seems like it's put a lot more pressure, I think, on our not our transportation, but on our road crews to try to keep roads clear. Because now we're in situations where we have students sharing the roads with buses and cars and trucks. Rather than being picked up at their driveways, they're having to travel in the dark to group pickup stops. So what I would like to find out is, has there been any communication with the district about what's changed this year? Because they did not make public any of the bus routes. They kept all of that private. And so we don't really have any information about, have they really increased the number of group stops? And is that really how's that going to impact the road crews here?
Well, first of all, that's a whole different organization than us. And our goal when we go out to plow is to plow for the buses. And we're always out to try to get the buses out in the morning and in the afternoon. So we're not plowing for individual people at stops. We're plowing the entire township. I guess it's what effect has it had really on us. But we don't really interact with them as far as planning their bus stops and whatnot. I don't think that ever comes up.
I guess as a parent, my concern is that, you're plowing so that the buses can get through, the cars can get through. But that's a whole different standard from people. I mean, the road that a car can pass along is a very different road from what people can safely pass along while walking alongside a bus or a car. So I'm thinking that I know that you're not the ones who came up with this idea, but the fact is that my kids are walking down the street that's plowed well enough for a car to get by, but doesn't seem very safe. So I don't really think it should be the township's responsibility to make sure that road is passable for people, but that's sort of the situation that's been hoisted, onto the township. They're doing the group stops. They haven't really consulted with anyone, and a lot of parents are being put in the situation of just having to say, forget this, I got to drive my kid, because it's not safe. These roads aren't safe for children to be walking on alongside cars and buses. So I just want to know if there's been any discussions with the district on this.
No.
Or should there be?
The answer is no.
Yeah, no. None with,
I guess I'm asking you to consider having some of those discussions, especially since they've been telling us that their intention is to just keep increasing the group stops every year.
Yeah, that was my question. As a concerned parent like you are, is there any noise, any sounds coming from Bainbridge about group stops? Because they don't have sidewalks anywhere there either.
There's actually been, I don't know. I mean, I have information about that that maybe
Sure.
I shouldn't share. I know they're not happy about it. I know that they weren't happy that they're hearing about it from concerned parents instead of having, some sort of discussion with the school. Just as a courtesy, hey, to let you know this is what we're doing.
Well, I agree with you. It is kind of an additional, if nothing else, psychological burden on our guys when they're plowing, that kids are maybe walking the road, sure, or they're walking with their kids are going to walk with cars going each direction, going down the road quite possibly. So that is something you got to think about.
And it's 6:30 in the morning too. It's dark. There's no street lights.
It's my initial thought would be this should be coming from parents groups, and we'd love to be part of the if you could carbon copy us and let us know what's going on. See, and the reason I'm hearing this because Kenston invited one member of our board because they didn't want to do any sunshine law or anything, but kind of an informational thing on moving the transportation department over to Gardner. And they got there's a trustee from Bainbridge there, and I went there, and they got mostly response from the locals, the neighbors right around there. But the fact of the matter is, anybody that's traveling that direction, if they move all those buses down there, and they're making their turn westbound out of Gardner, that's going to be a nightmare for anybody coming from Auburn looking for the freeway. That's what I think.
That was actually my second question.
Yeah.
Is I wanted to find out because I know that they're forming work groups. They've agreed to move forward, working in some small groups to look at alternative plans. And I know that they're including people who live right in that area who are directly impacted. They want some other folks who don't have kids in school. They're going to have some people from the Kenston board. But I also know that they're included the Bainbridge trustees. They will be represented. So I guess one of my questions is, I know that it's Kenston's show, but shouldn't someone from Auburn be involved in that?
They did. Like I said, they did invite us to that first meeting.
No, that was the meeting.
Which was the
these
1st
are
of
groups
September.
that are making recommendations for alternatives. Have they approached anyone?
No, they have not. But we did discuss this at might have been the one that you were out of town, but if this board is to get involved in this, because it is in Bainbridge and it is, like you said, their show, It would be on behalf of residents that go westbound on Beverage Auburn, to that freeway interchange, because it just, to me, like, we were talking earlier, they need another access rather than sending all the westbound buses left turn to the light at Snyder. It's just going to, if they had another access on the Snyder Road, it'd be different. It would make more sense, but if this board's to respond...
You have every bus dump out onto that intersection.
That's right. And like I said, we discussed that the far east, the driveways remain about the same place they are, according to the plan. The far east driveway is going to be right turns. The center driveway will be left turns. And the far west driveway will be the inbound. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm, that's what I heard, yeah.
And I don't know if I was driving that route at the time the buses were making left turns onto Bainbridge Auburn, looking to go north or south at Snyder. That's going to make a traffic difference, a huge one. So if we're to respond or to get involved, I think we could work up a letter to that effect. Because they did ask us to come, and I guess that implies that they will want to hear from us.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I know they're in the process of creating these groups now. So if it's, I don't know how you get yourself invited to the
Yeah, I don't know how you get yourself invited either, but if we send a letter, I guess we would at least know we're
I'd
paying
like my
attention.
township to be involved
Yeah.
in that, even from a taxpayer standpoint. I mean, our tax dollars, that levy, is supporting whatever they're going to construct.
Mm-hmm.
So from that angle, I would think we have some input also. Those are my tax dollars.
What do you think, John? Should we get involved at that level to say that we have concerns for Auburn residents going through the potential traffic problem?
Well, we do have
and that's
another-
that's the tone of what it would say.
We do have a way to get to the freeway. I mean,
we do. Sure, we do.
I
Sure,
think
we
that
do.
from a general standpoint, why wouldn't they?
Okay.
It would be bad decision making on their part, I would think.
Seems to me. And thanks for bringing this up, but we did discuss this at the last
I
meeting.
was just curious, how far your kids, are they asking your kids to walk to get on the bus?
Oh, they actually, it's not far.
Well, how far is it?
I'm not good with distance. It's like from the end of Robert out to Wing. But they had my kids at a group stop that had a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and where a bus went off into the ditch.
So they walk from, I'm sorry again, where is it? They walk from where to where?
Robert Lane down to Wing. So it's not necessarily the distance. The distance isn't really the issue, and I would love nothing more than my children be getting exercise, walking to and from, a bus stop. That doesn't concern me. What concerns me is that as a community, we're not really set up to do that safely. My son, to catch the bus, we are 6 minutes from the school. My son has to pick up the bus at 6:40 in the morning, so he has to actually leave the house at 6:30 to, walk to his bus stop in the dark with no sidewalks and no street lights. An hour-long bus ride when you live 5 minutes from the school. That's a whole other
I
topic.
understand that.
though.
My son, when he was in kindergarten, rode for an hour and 45 minutes.
That's insanity. And so parents don't do it. It's a huge waste of resources. My whole street, we all drive our kids in the morning, which,
It doesn't, to me, off the top of my head, doesn't seem like it's that far to walk.
Yeah, right.
But,
it's not a question of
Yeah.
the distance. It's the safety.
Yeah.
I can stand from where my kid has to walk in the road. I can stand and touch the bus as it drives by. It only takes one patch of ice, one bus slipping. I don't think we really want to risk that, but that's my opinion.
A question for Emmerich regarding that. We already go about as far as you can when we plow the roads, right? As you're plowing the road?
Yeah. We go out and line up later, but the initial pass, it's depending on the volume, the snowfall itself, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. Starting 3, 4 in the morning, but you get the initial pass open. The buses are running at 6:15. So I got to get one round in by 6:15.
Well, my question was the distance we plow, the edge of the road.
Right.
There really isn't much more that you could do, right?
No, they're 11-foot plows. We try to stay off of the berm. A lot of people have grass planted up to the edge, they don't like the grass disturbed as well. But we're giving it two-car widths, so traffic can
We couldn't
pass.
even
Oh, I know you
widen
can't
it out to
do
make a
anything
walkway.
like it.
Yeah.
You really can't. And then, like last winter with all the snow we had, it builds up.
Right.
So it's really high, and I would watch my neighbor's girl. My son would stand there, and let the bus pass really close. I'm like, eh. But my neighbor's daughter would take her leg up, and she'd go over into the snowdrift. She'd be up to her hips in the snow, so that she'd be out of the way of the bus.
Have you got any response from the school board regarding this?
Oh, I've gotten
Your
lots
group?
of responses. I've been mocked. I've been made fun of. Oh gosh, are your kids allowed to go out and play? I've been mocked, pretty much. They haven't seen it at all as a safety issue.
I've been made privy to I haven't visited because I don't belong to it, but there's a Facebook group of you guys that communicate on there.
Mm-hmm.
I believe my neighbor is on there as well.
Kelly Hall Bush.
But is there enough people that are liking your page? Are you getting enough views of it? Or
I've been told by the director of transportation that she can't be bothered, that she doesn't want to read a bunch of complaining parents on Facebook. We've all attended board meetings. We've made our concerns known. We've been mocked. So I don't think it's not going to change until something happens. There was a parent in Bainbridge that sent letters to the administration where a second grade girl was almost hit by a car at a group stop, and it was in bad weather. She never even got a response. So this has just been an issue that they just don't want to talk about it. They don't think it's an issue at all. So I know that you can't fix it. It's not yours to fix. But I at least want to talk about it from our township perspective, because I think it's just going to keep putting pressure, on this group. So, and I like Emmerich. He's helpful. So I don't
like Emmerich too.
I don't want Emmerich sweating this out. So any information you have, if they'll share information with you about the group stops, I'm kind of going in the back door to get some information because they won't give it to me. But maybe they're not actually increasing their group stops. We have no way of knowing. Because
They didn't publish a bus schedule this year.
no,
Good.
they said it was a
Kids
safety
on
issue.
bus anymore, so.
Yeah, they said people could stalk
We
kids.
used to always publish bus schedules. I used to look at it when I was a kid, yeah.
We just got a letter indicating when else bus stop.
Right, and they had so many problems with their rollout of their new software system. They had kids, there were mistakes, thank goodness, but people were getting letters that their kid would be walking up Washington Street, to a group stop. And they're like, my 8-year-old's not walking up Washington. And it just turned out to be computer issues, but even that wasn't done very well. So I'm not a fan of the transportation department. Put it right out there for people to understand that. So, I had one other that's not related to transportation.
All right.
I'm just looking for some guidance. Where do I turn to get information about both noise and firearms ordinances? Because I have neighbors who are just shooting up everything all the time. And we just want to know what the rules are.
Yeah, you're in the country. We do not have, any townships have no rights to set up anything regarding discharge of firearms, I can tell you.
So there's no ordinance at
Got
all?
some minimal stuff about noise, minimal ordinances about noise that we can do. Those are difficult to enforce and costly to enforce. We've kind of dipped our toe into that.
The noise ordinances have more to do with land use issues, so it would be more of a continuous type of land use rather than
occasional
or a party or something like that.
Okay, but shooting? Anybody can just
It is
shoot
not
anywhere?
illegal to discharge a firearm in the township.
Anywhere in the township?
We're unincorporated, right. You'd have to be a village to set up an ordinance like that with your own law department, your own enforcement department. And
Townships can't make laws.
we can't do that. That's real clear.
Who can make an ordinance about that?
A village.
We don't make any
And we're not a
ordinances.
village.
We're not a village or a city or... That's correct. That's real clearly spelled out.
30 or 40,000 people move
Yeah.
in, we can make it a city, I guess.
Yeah, it's
No, thank you. We got enough traffic on Taylor May Road.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that law's real clear. That's in an
Sometimes I wish I were.
corporate area, you can't do
like
it.
within like the proximity of someone else's property, like you have to be 100 yards away from someone else's property line.
Nope.
Wow, I thought
There's hunting laws that say you have to be how far from
The houses?
houses.
Those are state laws.
Those are state laws.
Yeah, so a couple hundred yards.
Yeah.
So there are state laws saying, but we can't enforce state laws.
But those are relative to hunting.
You'd have,
And then we can't enforce any laws. We don't have a police department.
Right.
That's why you
Well,
have
then we have
sheriff.
the sheriff.
I guess the short answer is contact the sheriff.
Contact the sheriff. Thank you.
Yeah, that's about the best you can do.
Buy a bigger gun.
Say we're bigger gun than your neighbor, that's all.
All right. Thank
Take
you.
a howitzer out there, let it go once or twice. He'll stop.
All right, thank you. Anyone else tonight? Anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.